So my thoughts on Alexa for shopping is that it's gonna become ubiquitous, which means you can access Alexa for shopping from different surfaces. Like it doesn't have to be the traditional kind of box where you're typing something in and getting some results kind of thing. And some people are calling it ambient, right? The ambient AI. So the search bar is only one surface, I would say, for getting to the stuff that you need. But there's so many other surfaces.
Welcome to Retail Playbook, provided by Refybuy. Hosted by top retail agent researcher Andrew Bell, Retail Playbook is your go-to resource for cutting-edge research, original content, and future-proof strategies to make sure your business is staying ahead of the competition.
Hello, welcome to Retail Playbook, where we discuss the intersection of AI and retailer agents like Alexa for shopping and Walmart Sparky. Today, we have a very special guest and actually a really good friend of mine, Ritu Java. She is probably one of the smartest people I have ever met on this planet, having conversations with her. But Ritu, welcome to the show.
Andrew, it's such a pleasure being here. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited for you. This is like a brand new podcast and, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to where this journey takes you. I'm very excited for you.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a great company, Refybuy, and I'm really bought into agentic commerce optimization everywhere and how ACO looks on Amazon. And I think one thing you and I are adamantly agree on is that Amazon is both an A9 and Rufus thing, right? It's an Amazon SEO, in other words, and it's an Amazon AI. So it's a dual layer, but you'd probably admit too, like there's so many people on the other one side that say, oh, just optimize for AI. And then the other side that says, well, no, you need to just optimize for A9. It's like, but we say what? We say yes. We need to be doing both. Before we kind of get into that and like noun phrase optimization and semantic optimization, inference and things like that, Ritu, I would like to know, our audience would love to know too, is how did you even get into e-commerce to begin with and Amazon?
Yeah, so this is an interesting story. So my background is as an engineer. So I started in the tech industry. I was working in a tech company for a long time. And then, at the time I was living in Japan. I lived in Japan for something like 17 years. And I decided to start an e-commerce business there while I was still in the tech industry and I was kind of doing stuff on the side. So I started with Etsy, which is this, gigantic portal for handmade goods and things like that. So I started there and also did a lot of offline retail and realized that it's not easy. Just creating products is not the last step. There's a lot more. In fact, that might be just the first step. And there's a lot that goes into getting your products some visibility, right? That's the big question I had. Like, how do I get these products in front of the right people, right? And it was a journey of like discovering what marketing is even, right? It took me like 10 years to kind of teach myself like all the basics. I would be a podcast junkie, going from, oh my God, so many podcasts. Oh my God. I mean, I literally taught myself marketing, data analytics, Google ads, Facebook ads, you name it. And then I realized that, it would be nice to get some formal education in data, even though like I had a very solid like engineering degree and I wanted to go back to school. And so then I left Japan, came to the US, did a year-long program in data science and taught myself all the programming stuff, like the SQL and this and that, all that good stuff. And then that's kind of when I discovered Amazon. And then I was like, oh my God, forget Etsy. Amazon is the place. Like things really sell. Like what is Etsy?
There's not as much money in Etsy as there is Amazon.
Yeah. And Etsy tends to be very niche. So it's only one type of audience that goes to Etsy, right? The ones that care about like creative stuff and whatnot. But yeah, Amazon is, as we all know, the place that everybody needs to be on in order to kind of get visibility. of any sizable proportions. And so I realized that, yeah, this is where I'm going to, build my next chapter. And so I did a bunch of advertising. So running PPC for clients, that was, the starting point. And then, with this agency that I have, PPC Ninja, we do advertising and creative services, which means we do listing creation, listing optimization, storefront creation, video, AI videos and stuff like that. So it's kind of taking everything and kind of putting it through that flywheel effect, like not just PPC, not just advertising, but then also making sure that your listings are ready to convert, right? The conversion is the most important, the conversion rate, and how we can get that. So that actually got me very, very interested in Rufus and Alexa, and obviously Andrew, and Andrew has been doing such great work with the deep dive patent analysis of like everything that Amazon puts out. Like he's literally way up there, when it comes to knowing how the algorithms are working or the AI is working. And so I tend to be kind of a overlap between, knowing enough because I love, reading your material as well as like do a lot of my own analysis. But then I also have a company to run. So I'm mostly focused on applying all that knowledge and translating that into something that our clients can use. And we've been helping a lot of large brands do Rufus audits, Alexa audits at scale. And that requires a deep understanding of how does this even work, understanding what to focus on, and then giving them the right recommendations for how to steer visibility and how to ensure that you don't lose the SEO ranking or the focus on SEO that suddenly has got this new replacement that everybody's more excited about, but it's like a balance. It's kind of both. And I agree with you. I also like to call it the dual flywheel. We've got to spin both these flywheels simultaneously till there's a complete transition, which I don't think is happening anytime soon. Like, I mean, could be another year before people get so comfortable with AI that they don't even type keywords, that they just talk to it or they just express themselves in complicated long sentences. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now, really trying to understand things myself, trying to help my clients, and then also sharing my knowledge through my newsletter, which is the AI for e-commerce newsletter, where all of these, it's like the distillation of everything that I'm picking up and learning myself and putting out there. Yeah, so that's kind of my background.
Well, that's one thing I think you and I share is we're very much so both self-taught. My background is ancient Greek and preaching. It's like, well, what does that have to do with e-commerce? But I know you and we love knowledge. We love learning how to apply that knowledge and communicate that to people in a way that, they can understand. And that's the thing too, you talked about, we are very big also just into AI in general, you and I, right? We love every model comes out. We were just talking before the podcast, we were talking about how we were fabling, right?
Fabling. That's the new word.
Fabling, that's a thing. Yeah, it's a new thing. No more vibe
Yeah.
coding. You're fabling right now. Yeah. At least until GBT 5.6 tomorrow, right? That comes out. Then it's going to be, we're doing that. But let's talk about the visibility aspect of things, because obviously, like we said, you have A9, which is essentially Amazon SEO. And then you have Alexa for shopping, which is AI visibility there. And the two work in symbiotic union with each other, and you have to feed both. And as you feed both, a lot like SEO and PPC, as you feed both, they get better, right? Would you say that's a fair point?
Absolutely. Yeah. They build on each other. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess we want to talk about, people talking about it like, oh, it's going to replace search. It's like, well, it's not that simple. If you read the science, you look at it, Amazon's not going to abandon years and years of proven search science and applied, search and all these incremental gains they've made from that and just replace it with AI. Because if there's one thing Amazon cares more about than AI, it's its bottom line. Right. And so, if it's going to do it, it's going to do it in a responsible way. I like to get into talking about then that a little bit more. And what's the relationship between A9, Rufus, Alexa for shopping, and PPC?
Yeah. So I think, A9 has, evolved to a point where organic used to be quite prevalent on the page. Like when I started back in 2016, it was mostly organic, and organic positioning was pretty important. I mean, it still is like very, very important, like making sure that you're visible with a, pretty high enough rank or low rank so you can show at the top. But Amazon started adding so many ad placements at the top that, those organic positions started to kind of drop down below the fold. And so the moment that happened, a lot was lost because you really have to fight to kind of get those eyeballs. And we know that, more than 66% of all sales happen on page one. And, off that, the majority happens above the fold. Like people don't actually have the time to kind of go down, research, unless it's a very heavy, kind of expensive purchase, like myself included. Like if I look at myself as a shopper, I usually settle within the first two, maybe three at most products. Like, and I buy quite a lot of like random stuff on Amazon. Not a shopaholic, but when I need something, I'm kind of going after a certain thing, and I'll look for one or two or maybe three. I'll check on price, and I'm like, okay, this is good now. I don't have the time for anything more. So that basically says that with the organic, the A9 algorithm, there's a disadvantage in terms of like visibility is kind of pushed down to the bottom. So you're forced to have both. Like you gotta have ads and you've got to do organic. You can't rely. And I think you want to control the OA ratio, which is the organic to ads ratio, in order to justify that. Because otherwise, you're talking about cannibalization. Like, why should I show my ad when there is an organic? That conversation, you know what I'm saying? It's like everybody's focused on trying to reduce the amount of ad spend, but it's just not, it's not possible to completely remove ad and just rely on organic. That's what I would say about the A9 side of things.
It's like you see organic go up all of a sudden. It's like, well, we don't need PPC. Well, the reason your organic goes up is because of your PPC, right?
Yes, that too.
So you're seeing organic. Okay, so you're seeing organic and ad based on the A9 side of things. What do you think that looks like, or what are you seeing as far as like sponsored prompts and stuff when you look at the AI visibility side? Because obviously there's an organic side to the AI shelf, right? Which likely pulls from A9 searches, right? And brings it into its own pool and then personalizes it based on knowledge of that person, et cetera.
Right. Yeah.
So what does that look like? Where do you see the future of that too, as far as the intersection of within AI visibility, you have organic and ads?
Again, I would like to draw from my own experiences as a shopper. And I'm actually finding myself more and more and more comfortable with Alexa. Like I'm searching for complex things, things that are hard to find with a few keyword searches. I'm actually asking Alexa for those recommendations. And I like the fact that I can continue a conversation. Like if I start asking about chocolate protein shake or something, maybe in my follow-up question, I can say it's got to be sugar-free, or it's got to be less than 2 grams of sugar per scoop, or whatever. I can keep going with that conversation. And now I've gotten so comfortable with that. I just feel like, okay, I trust this more and more. Like I feel like, okay, I'm going to get the right answer. Whereas if I were to do like just a plain A9 search with all these criteria, like it's got to be chocolate, it's got to be protein, it's got to be whey protein, it's got to be less than some certain amount of sugars, and it's got to be calorie friendly. I can't stuff all that into keywords anymore. So that playbook of just knowing exactly what you want and expressing it in just keywords, that era seems to be, kind of getting to its end.
Slowly dying, right? It's slowly dying. The way it's being used is slowly dying. Yes. And
It is, yeah. Unless it is like AAA batteries or something so straightforward that you don't need any
yeah,
complex,
it's
whatever.
like, okay,
Like
yeah.
that's a AAA battery, the AAA battery.
That's good that you said that. My wife talks about, and I'm like this too, is you're on a shopping mission. Let's say you're trying to find, wall art for your home. But really, when you say that, you need it in your bedroom, you need it in your dining room, you need it in your kitchen. Maybe you need it for your office as well. But every place you put that, it might look like a different thing, a different aesthetic. So you're constantly reformulating these searches over and over again. And so you have this huge cognitive load because as you're doing that, you're also, you know, um, subconsciously you're looking and understanding the, different variants too. So if you type in metal wall art, you might see 4 living room, 4 bedroom. It's like, oh, which one do I pick? It's like, do I have to go and search for all of these now? Right. Whereas with AI, it can actually, based on your experience and knowing those things about you over time, it can actually automatically go and grab the most relevant products using those searches, right? So instead of you having to reformulate, that cognitive load is being taken off the customer, and now AI is able to do it, right? So all of a sudden, search become much more intelligent. It hasn't necessarily changed, but it's become much more intelligent.
Yes, yes. No, I totally agree. And to answer your question about prompts inside of Rufus or Alexa, right? Now the thing is, if I compare ads inside of Alexa versus ads inside of like just the regular A9, I feel like there's a lot of uh, evolution that's still required on the Alexa side. Like it's not there yet. Like I'm not getting relevant ads yet. It's hard. I mean, I can understand why it's so hard for the right ads to show up inside an Alexa response because most of the ads that we're running are based on keywords. So they're tied to a keyword, right? And yes, right. So, and yes, Amazon is trying to kind of expand that to say that, if this is the keyword and there's a certain intent behind it, they're trying to guess that intent. And then they're trying to say, okay, if the sentence is this or something like this, then maybe this ad is the relevant one, right?
So then this prompt has to show up. It's like, oh, this prompt needs to show up just because you bid on metal wall art. It's like, okay, now it needs to say like, what's the best metal wall art as, a possible prompt that shows up as an ad. But it'd be nice to see like, what are the actual prompts that customers are typing? And of course, that's the silver bullet everyone's looking for as far as like gaining access. Like, when will Amazon give us that level of data, right? Do you anticipate Amazon giving us something like that soon?
So there's already one report that we've been referencing. It's called the prompts report. It is under the advertising console, and it tells you what prompts were triggered from which campaigns,
I
and
did
it
see
also
that.
gives
Yeah.
you some and it also gives you some performance data. Like it'll tell you impressions, clicks.
It even says sales, right? I've noticed that it shows attribution of sales. Now, I've noticed this on some accounts, but it's actually really hard for me to find prompts with a sale on it. It took me a while to dig to find a lot. What are you seeing on your side? What's the data showing?
The data is looking very sparse right now. It is very like there isn't data sufficiency for those sales to start meaningfully show up in our prompts. And there's also a look back window. I think it's not going all the way back. Like it's a very short window, and you can't really gather that much data on a long prompt that's got to match with a particular keyword and its intent. So, probability wise, statistically, it's just going to be smaller and smaller and smaller. And therefore, we're not really seeing too much. But whatever we're seeing seems to be on point, like in the sense that those prompts that they've picked up and they've associated with certain campaigns, those prompts might be, fairly popular. Like those might be the things that people actually ask. Um, or there's another type of prompt I've seen, which is not really a question, but it's just like a statement. Like it's not like how does this happen or how do you blah blah. It's not a what, why, who, when kind of question, but it's more like a statement that says, uh, variants of this product in this brand or something.
Oh, as an ad?
Yeah, those prompts, like as prompts.
I haven't seen that as an ad. Wow. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
a lot. I kind of wonder the likelihood of the customer clicking it anyway, even if it wasn't sponsored.
Right. Exactly.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, if it's so young, it's not like Amazon's making a lot of money off those ads there. Plus, I noticed that it's very cheap. I noticed, like, on just a couple clicks, it was, like, 4 or 5 cents, or no, not even 4 or 5 cents, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm. Yeah.
so I like that it's cheap, and I see that, but, it'd be nice to see more attribution of sales and the conversion rate, because we know organically it's what, 60%
Hmm. Hmm.
more likely for someone to buy versus, but what is that for ads too? It'd be interesting to know that.
It would be, yeah, it's all evolving. Yeah.
I'm really glad we got to discuss that. One thing I do want to do is kind of go back just a little bit. Ritu, you're so good at explaining things. Could you explain the difference when we talk about A9 and kind of give a little bit of history of that? Because I also want to talk a little bit about, the myth of A10. And, usually it's the result of lots of Amazon influencers just trying to find new language for a new algorithm. I kind of understand that it's well intentioned, right? But then you start seeing someone saying A11, A12, and someone joke, where are we at? A21? It's kind of a joke on community, but we both know that, it never was a numbered system. It wasn't ever A1, 2, 3. It's always just been A9. So can you talk a little bit about the A9 algorithm, what that means, and how that's, basically the Amazon version of SEO, for an audience that knows a lot about Google SEO and things like that, but wants to understand the world of Amazon?
For as long as I've been in this Amazon space, it's always been A9. It's like I haven't seen any numbers going up or down or none of that. So it's just been A9, and yeah, it's a very smart algorithm to match a search term to a product. Basically, put it very very simply. And they have their own ways of doing it. And I'm sure Andrew studied all the papers to kind of explain that. I'm more on the practical side of things, and I know that the matching that happens has evolved. Like it might still be called A9, but they obviously have evolved it over time. And I do see a shift. Like it's not the same as it used to be. I mean, in some ways it is better. It has evolved over time, and it is kind of surfacing the right products, uh, perhaps taking into account a lot of factors, like the attributes that describe that product, or some of the other secondary KPIs like conversion rate or click-through rate, or the other factors that express whether this is likely to be the right match for a search term. I don't think personalization was ever part of it, but I do think that they are making some additions to that now, so that even a little bit of personalization in terms of maybe history of purchase is being, taken into account. But I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's more like this person is more likely to buy this product.
It's like, what's the next likely intent that they have based on their number of searches they've had, but not nearly as sophisticated as Alexa. But the reason Alexa is so sophisticated in this, and the advantage Amazon has over ChatGPT that I believe far makes them way better at shopping, it doesn't even come close, is it doesn't have 9 to work with. It doesn't have that as a tool to use in product search.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay, this brings me to another one, and I don't want to, I know some people probably, disagree on this part, but Cosmo. Cosmo came out 2024 as a paper and talked about all the relations. And, you had Juana, for example, and Danny do phenomenal work on that as well, and coming up with those 15 questions to ask and those sorts of things. But from my understanding, it's like Cosmo was never something built necessarily within the search. It has something to do with Amazon's knowledge graphs, but it's one of many knowledge graphs that exist at Amazon. So some people would say, well, A9 has been replaced with Cosmo. So what are your thoughts on that? Like the confusion there? Because I think Cosmo is important from strategically it makes sense. It's good to fill in those questions. You should have that for sure. But as far as it being narrowed down to a certain subset, I believe the relations really are way more per category than they are, as far as a universal template that Cosmo provides. And Cosmo's, again, one knowledge graph among many. So kind of talk about that a little bit.
The things that Cosmo brought to the table are things like semantics or inference or personalization. These are not present in the A9 system at all. Like they're different. So instead of thinking of them as a step up or a version up, they're just completely different animals, and we have to treat them kind of separately, and also kind of knowing that they're running in parallel, like a dual flywheel, right? So
no, I think that's really good. No, I'm glad that you said that, because like Cosmo is not A9. A9 is not Cosmo. I think they're complementary in the sense that they help customers with shopping,
for sure.
right? But they serve different purposes. And when we talk about ranking and such, and kind of this comes down to is like, if you're not on page 1 of A9, then I think it's fair to say you cannot be on, page 1 of AI search. Like you have to be on page 1 in A9 to even be considered in the pool of products that Alexa for shopping is going to take and then personalize according to your interests and things like that. But I'm glad you mentioned the thing about the search bar. There's this thing in Amazon search science called the Bumblebee problem. And the Bumblebee problem is when I type in Bumblebee costume for Halloween, what's going to show up? Is it going to show up as the Transformer Bumblebee, or is it going to show up as like just a Bumblebee dress for my kid? And so I'd go and search for it. And I know that the A9 algorithm doesn't know me because I have twin girls. And if I would have typed in Bumblebee costume, I would expect the Bumblebee to show up. No prior history of Bumblebee the Transformer, right, showing up. So the question from that was, okay, how do we make this more relevant? Well, when you do an Alexa for shopping, it actually finally brings me it solves the Bumblebee problem. I know that's a kind of more of a basic version, but that's something that's always been a litmus test for the Amazon search, science team is looking at that. And I believe, Alexa for shopping definitely solves that. But I think that's all good there. Where do you think things are headed? Because I've always had the prediction that Alexa for shopping is actually going to move to also a control your screen kind of thing, where you type in provide me with a wall art for my home, and it'll go and it'll search, and maybe it opens multiple tabs for you. I know that, so far it's not a window, it's a browse, like we have browser-based control, but like think of it as like an extension
Computer
go
use
to
or something.
computer
Yeah.
use, right, within Alexa for shopping. Of course, you'd have to accept it from people, but do you see any advantages to that, or do you think that it's merely going to stay embedded?
So my thoughts on Alexa for shopping is that it's going to become ubiquitous, which means you can access Alexa for shopping from different surfaces. Like it doesn't have to be the traditional kind of box where you're typing something in and getting some results kind of thing. It is more like a ubiquitous presence through voice, maybe like Alexa.
I like that sense. I like ubiquitous. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. And some people are calling it ambient, right? The ambient AI, or
It's like meeting you wherever you're at, anytime you are.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So the search bar is only one surface, I would say, for getting to the stuff that you need. But there's so many other surfaces.
They're everywhere. The mobile phone, how it
Yeah,
shows up in
your
mobile
watch.
phone. Yeah. When you're in the product page, you scroll down, when you're in Lens Live, you can interact with Rufus, Alexa. I'm always gonna call it
Exactly.
Rufus, I swear, but I know it's Alexa for shopping.
Yes,
I have a soft spot in my heart for Rufus, that name and Rufus, so I think I'm always gonna consider that. But for people listening, we do mean Alexa for shopping,
for
if you're
sure.
wondering.
Yeah, we mean that. Yeah. Yeah.
They just introduced agentic ads you're familiar with there. It was like prompts and stuff. Are you seeing those anywhere? Because I've searched for the life of me, and trust me, I can find stuff, and I haven't found any examples yet. Um, have you seen any examples of this yet?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the prompts are definitely ads that are showing up inside Alexa for shopping. Those are, we can see them, right? And there's some ads that show up just below, like it says sponsored, and I might have a screenshot here. Let me see if I can find one real quick.
Nothing like a screenshot. I screenshot everything, and so my whole computer, thank God for Claude, because it can organize all my screenshots by theme now.
The thing is, I have seen, I think it's right under the so your list, your image gallery, and right below that, there's a spot where you sometimes see the blue bubbles, right? The Alexa for shopping blue bubbles. I've seen sponsored right there.
I've seen ads there. How about offsite? What I mean is, I guess I'm thinking more with agentic ads offsite. What are you seeing anything there? They had offsite ads. I haven't seen any. They had mentioned it. They had talked about it.
Yes, they did. Yeah,
but I hadn't seen them. Yeah, I hadn't seen them. I haven't seen them recently. So that's why I asked there. So hopefully they'll come out with something soon that lets us know that. But I also now want to transition here to we talked about the importance, because when you go to search, you type in metal wall art, for example, you see 4 living room, 4 bedroom, or you see then metal wall art, handcrafted steel. Let's get into talking about noun phrases and how what are they, number one, and how does noun phrase optimization fit into the paradigm of optimizing for Alexa for shopping, and how also it works with A9 search as well. So it's complementary in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So if it's okay, I'm just going to share my screen, and I will read them out. Yeah, in case someone's listening to this. I'm just going to start here because we've been talking about the dual flywheel, right? So there's right. Yeah, yeah. So the dual flywheel basically has these 2 entry points: the keyword search and the conversational search, right? And the keyword search is going through your typical A9, and that leads to product discovery. And a product discovery that leads to sales goes and reinforces keyword ranking. And that again kind of enhances A9 and lets that keyword be associated with the product. So, the more ads you run, the more you train the A9 algorithm that this product, gets picked every time this keyword is presented. So this kind of strengthens here. On the conversational side, it's a little bit more complicated because, it's a complex query. It's not like microfiber towels. It's like towel that doesn't stink or something like that. The keyword may not even be present, And so that when that leads to product discovery, and then if the product discovery does lead to sales, it's actually improving everything about the semantic relevance, about, kind of similarity or just inference and everything. And then it's going back and reinforcing the Alexa cycle and so on. So, I mean, there's a few change or a few step ups that have happened with the Alexa side of discovery, right? That I want to go over. So the first one is semantics, right? It's, you can just say something like a very fuzzy wuzzy word like cozy blanket, and it will figure out all the different meanings of that, right? So semantics is where you can replace like one way of saying things with another way of saying the same thing, and it kind of satisfies, so like cozy blanket would mean like a soft blanket, and that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's a perfect example. Yeah.
And then if you look at the word inference, which is another kind of step up from A9, inference is basically where it's inferring something that is not stated, right? Like best shoes for mountain climbing. The inference is that, they're talking about hiking boots, right? That's the.
So that's what needs to be searched for in order to grab that, right?
Yeah,
You type
exactly.
that in regular search, what happens? Maybe doesn't come up with the best stuff, but you have hiking boots.
Yeah.
That's the keyword that's probably, that's good. I like that.
And then the third step up is personalization. Like you said, you have twin daughters. Personalization would take your search versus my search for the same exact thing and give us two completely different results, right? For example, you have a gamer who looks for the word headphones versus a commuter that looks for the word headphones. They're going to get something different, right? Each one will get a different looking product. And that's basically where it becomes very close to what we imagined when we were doing that search, right? And so the gap between this is what I want and this is what Amazon showed me is getting smaller and smaller. Like it's getting really good at finding stuff that you actually care about because it knows so much about you, your past history, all the other products you've, purchased and so on. So I would say these are some of the kind of the three. I mean, there's so much, right? But these three are the step up from A9 that Alexa is really good at.
That's a great example. I'm glad you mentioned that one with the headphones, because when I did the same thing recently searching for headphones, and of course I went with the AirPods Pro 3, but it was ones it knew right away for meetings. It didn't even say gamer commuter, it just knew I needed them for meetings. Like right away, I was like, yeah, that's what I needed. It was intuitive. So that's good.
Intuitive, yep, absolutely. So now let's get to actually this term, the noun phrase. I think you're the one that expressed it this way, and I think the entire industry has just followed you, and it's now a thing. So now when you have a conversation with AI, it actually knows that history. Anyway, so this is a comparison just so that people can understand very, very simply what is the difference between like a simple keyword or SEO stuffed keyword based title versus a grammatical noun phrase kind of title, right? So here, the what I'm showing on the screen is is a hiking boot, right? And the SEO keywords that are likely to get stuffed in somewhere in the title are waterproof, hiking boots, lightweight, durable. Like a lot of times we just do comma, 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 and then we just throw in a bunch of words that we've seen maybe in Helium 10 or whatever.
Right. Literally a raw string of search traits. No, that's very true.
Whereas the grammatical kind of noun phrase style of expressing the same thing would say something like the ultra lightweight waterproof hiking boots with durable rubber soles. So it's giving A9 a lot, or not A9, Alexa a lot more context because it's qualifying it in a way that has more meanings than you can that normal people can interpret. And so what's the best way to write like a noun phrase? Very simply stated, there's a determiner, right? There's five different parts to it. The determiner is like, in this case, the adjectives. These are pre-modifiers like ultra lightweight or waterproof, or those are just describing the thing, the actual noun phrase that need to be present so that the noun phrase can, come alive. Like right now, it's just a word, and then you have, yeah. And then the next thing you need in the noun phrase is the noun adjunct, which is hiking. And then you have the head noun, which is boots, right? So you want hiking boots. So that's kind of a combination. It's a phrase, it's a noun phrase, and it's gotta happen together in order for it to make sense. You're not saying boots for hiking. You're actually saying, even that might be okay, but hiking boots is gotta be together, very in close proximity. And then you have the prepositional phrase or like a post-modifier. And in this case, it happens to be with durable rubber soles, right? So that's basically bringing out some more attributes, some more qualities of the product that you're trying to differentiate from amongst, hundreds of other potentially similar products. And that's where you would put, those extra details that matter. Not everything matters, but some things do matter. Like it's durable, it's rubber. We could also say something like, that's something that's non-slip or whatever, depending on the product, of course. So yeah, description, so the parts again are determiner, adjective, noun adjunct, head noun, and the post modifier. So with this, you can kind of describe a product fairly well, I would say.
Oh, especially in terms of like how AI thinks and how search thinks too, right? How to get the best phrases. And people already do search in noun phrases, but now they have a way to do it in much more detail. I think, yeah, this is really good. I think NPO, noun phrase optimization, like you said, leads then to inference and inference pathways and making contextual connections between things that I think very important. And so like, how can you take all those inferences, right, from the traits that they have, and then now you have the features to benefit to outcome type writing that goes in your bullet points, your title. Well, not title, item name and item highlights now, right?
Highlights now. Yeah.
So one thing I'm curious about, because one thing I've been, testing at large scale is, you notice, do you think that item highlights are going to lose SEO power to the item name, or do you think they're going to keep the same SEO power, if you will, and it's just merely an aesthetic, stylistic thing that makes sense for Amazon to do?
That's a great question. And, I think the initial reaction when this was announced was that, oh my God, we're going to lose everything. Like, we're going to lose our SEO, and so there was a little bit of a panic. There was a little bit of, oh my God, what do we do now? Like, how do we get our SEO back? And, but I don't think Amazon is being stupid here. I think they're doing it for a reason. I still don't understand. I don't still understand the full picture of like how this split is going to help. But I think a little bit of that is to do with like clean visibility on search results. Like there's truncation that happens, a dot that comes on, which
Yeah, that's true. You see that in Alexa for shopping. You see it on mobile. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Do you think that Alexa for shopping, when products are brought in and obviously summarized, you have the item name that would show up within those characters, right? But then you hit the see more details. What I found very interesting is when you hit see more details, it's actually almost exactly between 72 and 75 characters total on there with the dot dot dot. It might just be a coincidence, but it also might be, is this just a better way searching for products and whatnot? I don't know. Because you can't search by async because it only brings up one product. You need to search by, the particular product name if that's the one that, you want to look up. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think the fact that it's going to be a little bit harder to get the full picture of like what is this product and is it for me or not, especially if you have like products that need a little bit of compatibility information. So let's say you have a cord that connects X to Y, and you need to know the X and you need to know the Y. You're selling the cord, but you need to know what those two connectors are. And there's no way you can fit that into the 75 characters. You've got to say like model numbers or a little bit more details to really say, okay, if this is for me or not. Like I need to know compatibility information as much as I need to know what this product is. So what we're doing right now is we're actually looking at main image optimization alongside the title and highlights optimization, because there is a danger that people don't actually click on the see more and they will lose out on stuff. So I think the hero image optimization becomes even more important now than it ever has been. And yes, of course, it's debatable about like whether that will get, flagged for, not following TOS, etc. But everybody is to some extent modifying their main images in order to add more information. Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to call it Amazon, but on this part, I will say something. Just type in Kindle. What do you notice? It has text on the main image. Now, I know Amazon can do whatever they want. It's Amazon, right? It's their brand. But it would be, know why they do that if they see more conversion, if that's something that sellers and brands should be able to do. I think that would be a good idea. So, yeah, I think practicing what you preach is definitely something that's good. But at the same time, well, that's awesome. Well, that's about our time here, Ritu. It was an honor being able to do this podcast with you. You're again
likewise
one of the greatest minds in the Amazon world. So every
back
time we
at
do
you,
talk,
Andrew.
appreciate it. Well, we loved having you on. And if you guys want to follow, best way to follow you is LinkedIn.
Correct. So my full name, Ritu Java on LinkedIn. That's where I'm very active on. So yeah, I would love to have more conversations around this topic and more.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to have you back on eventually.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Take care.
Thanks, Ritu.